This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abam. We're continuing in Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua. We're up to Siman Ayin, Siv Daled. Haya Oisek B'tzarchei Rabim. Somebody was involved in community activities. V'yigi Zman Kriya Shema. And the Zman Kriya Shema came, Lo Yapsik. Don't interrupt. Ala Yigmar Eskem. Finish what you're doing. V'yikra im Nishar Eis L'Kros. And you'll read if there's time. If there's no time, you won't read. But you read if there's time. That's what you do if somebody is being Oisek B'tzarchei Tzibor. You'll read if there is time. Okay. Says the Mishna Berura. Sivkatan Tes Zayin. Sivkatan Tes Zayin. Mayri she'ein sham mi she'yishtadel elahu. It's talking about there's no one to try, meaning there's nobody to be involved in the tzarchei tzibur. You're the only guy who could do this. That's why you can't interrupt. You're involved in a mitzvah. Even if you're just trying to save people's money, you are not. You're a loy pasak leberchos kriyishma. What about if I'm stopping because I'm oisik b'tzarchei tzibur and I'm tired, so I need to rest to continue to be oisik b'tzarchei tzibur? You also don't say Shema. That's also a mitzvah. You'll say Shema later if there's time. Even if you're just trying to save their money. Even if you're just trying to save one guy's money. It can't be you're trying to save your own money, but you're trying to help other people. Okay. V'higia mashma zedim hischel be'isar achar she'giz man tzarich lahafsik. The mechaber's mashma that the situation was you started beheter and therefore you do not interrupt. But it's mashma from here that if you started be'isar after it's higia zman, you have to stop. Look at the Pri Megadim, he's inclined to say that in all situations you don't have to stop. Even if you started be'isr. Lo yafsik. V'im yachal lahafsik l'kriya shema, v'yacher kach lachsar v'ligmar tzarech tzibur b'lo yitarach yafsik. If you are able to interrupt and say Shema, and then go back and finish for tzarchei tzibur without any tircha, you should stop. Kasav ha-Pri Megadim. Di'afagav da oisek b'tzarchei rabim pater mikriya Shema. Even though if someone is oisek b'tzarchei rabim, they're exempt from Shema. Mikamakam in pasak v'kara. If they stopped and they read Shapra Yatzidei Chayva, they do get the mitzvah. Don't say, well, maybe they're pater, and therefore if they said Shema, they're not Yotzei, and therefore if the Asek B'tzarchei Tzibur is done, they maybe you would think they have to say it again. No, when we say they're pater, they're not obligated, but they're not categorically exempt. Dolay pater mamish mikriya Shema. It's not that they're actually pater, it's just that the uz. It's just that at that time they're oisek in a different mitzvah. Okay. The Mishna Berura continues. Yigmar iskehem umikamakayim yaseh ma sheyachal. Nevertheless, you should do what you can. V'yikra lepachas pasuk rishain. And read at least the first pasuk. Im baruch Shema kvod machzon levad bezmana ki zeh davar katzar. That's very short. Avshalai afilu b'shasha oisek b'tzarchei tzibur. And that you could do even when you're being oisek b'tzarchei tzibur. So even though the mechaber says you don't interrupt for zman kriya Shema, but rather you finish the asek that you're involved in, but you try to at least chaparain the first pasuk of Shema with Baruch Shem. As we said earlier, that the pasuk of Baruch Shem is part of Kabbalas Malchus Shamayim. And then you say the Shema if there is time remaining. Im nishar, says the Mishna Berura, im loy nishar. And if there isn't time, ma'yasa, what could you do? Hari asak b'mitzvah, you were involved in doing a mitzvah. Mekamakom chayiv lahazkir yitzias Mitzrayim. Nevertheless, you are obligated to mention Yitzias Mitzrayim. Afilu la'achar sha'avar zman kriya Shema. even after the Zman Kriya Shema. Meaning, even though the Zman Kriya Shema passed, you're obligated to say Yitzias Mitzrayim Shazuhi Mitzvah B'fnei Atzma. It's a mitzvah by itself. U'mitzvah Kol Hayom. The mitzvah extends the whole day. Al Kein Yomer Ezer Parsha Sheyesh Ba Yitzias Mitzrayim. Therefore, you should say some Parsha that has Yitzias Mitzrayim. What if you just say Hashem Hoitzianu Mi Mitzrayim? Pri Megadim says Yiroitza. But it sounds like you do not have to say all three Parshas after the Zman. And it comes on the Magen Avram. So you should all be bothered. The Chavos Yair asks that we said in Siman Nun Ches Vav that you read Shema the whole day. We also say later on that if someone is Malamed Torah Rabim, even though you're not mafsik only to say the first pasuk, but after you teach, you should say the whole Shema. Let's look back in Siman Nun Ches Seif Vav. In Nun Ches Seif Vav we say, Afal pi shenimshach shezman nimshach at soif hashash lishis im avra shash lishis loikara. You say beberchaiseh the whole sharavias. Vim avra sharavias loikara kaira beloy berchaiseh kol hayom. And here we're learning that you just have to be mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim. I guess here we're talking about what you're obligated to mention. But it's recommended to say the whole Shema. Okay, the Mishna Berura continues. In other words, if you miss the Zman Kriya Shema, you should at least say a Parsha that has Yitzias Mitzrayim. But again, this is only if even the 4th hour passed. But if you're still within the Zman of not Kriya Shema, but Birchas Kriya Shema, because Kriya Shema goes till the 3rd hour, and the Birchas Kriya Shema goes till the 4th hour. K'moish mavar b'siman nun ches v'ayin sham b'Mishna Berura v'ayin lekamon siman tzadi gimel sif daled le'inyan tefila v'Mishna Berura sham. Okay, V'da. Dim nimshach zman iska b'tzarech tzibur alachar chatzos. What if being involved in the tzarech tzibur lasted till midday? Sha'az pater l'kulei yama, af minat tefila. Because now, not only you pater from Shema, you pater from tefila. Mikol makom asar l'kulei yama le'echal. Nevertheless, it is also according to everyone even to eat. Koydem shemekayim mitzvahs tefillin. Before you fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin, the mitzvah of tefillin, the time extends the whole day. And also, according to what the Pri Megadim writes in Siman Peites, you won't be able to daven before mincha. Therefore, when the half hour after chatzos comes, yispal tfilas mincha va'achar kach yoichal. So in other words, if your asek b'tzarchei tzibor took you until midday, not only do you have to put on tefillin and therefore you can't eat before tefillin, you can't eat before mincha. So you're going to wait until a half hour after chatzos daven mincha, and then you could eat. Va'ayin b'sefer Machon Yisrael Perek Zayin. We know the Chofetz Chaim wrote a sefer for soldiers of how they should accord themselves under extenuating circumstances, where the Chofetz Chaim says that even though a Suda Katana, the Ramah says that you're allowed to eat before Mincha, that's when you already daven Shachris. But if you didn't even daven Shachris, then, you see, if you daven Shachris, and now it's talking about eating before Mincha you could eat Suda Katana, you can't eat Suda Gedoyla. But before Shachris, you can't eat anything. Now, you're not davening Shachris, because you blew it. But now your mincha takes on the status of shachris, of the din of lo yiseichlu al adam, that you're not to eat before you pray. Okay, we're going to hold it over here for today. Okay, so tomorrow we'll see Sif Hey. Wishing everyone an amazing day.
The din of oisim mitzvah, Patron of mitzvah, is that he says over here there's some sort of lumdus. If he's not really potter.
Right.
Is that
Right.
old lumdus of Eisvei mitzvah?
L'chaira. It's not like you be.
How are you allowed to stop that mitzvah to do this mitzvah? When are you potter? You should be also for you to do this mitzvah now. You're in the middle of another mitzvah. How can you stop that? He says it's okay if you stop to say Shema.
No, he says it's okay to, if you could, the first pasuk, right?
There's a before that. He says
Where? Mishna Berura Yud Ches? Yeah. Right.
Why? He's not potter mamish. He's busy with the mitzvah.
Right.
You're allowed to stop that mitzvah.
It's talking about where by saying Shema, it would not infringe on the mitzvah you're middle of. In other words, what's the reason oisek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah? Because you're taking away from the mitzvah you're involved in. But if you're able to say the Shema without it in any way infringing on the mitzvah you're involved in,
then you should be mechuyev. It's not like if you did it, you're okay.
No, it sounds like you're not. Are you mechuyev to?
If you were able to stop that mitzvah without infringing, if you're able to stop that tzarchei tzibur without infringing on it.
Right. It sounds like you're not mechuyev to. You're not obligated to, because at the end of the day you are involved in.
I'm asking Monoshok, so then how are you allowed to? How are you allowed to stop a mitzvah if you're not?
You're allowed to because it's not really. It's in other words, if I'm busy in a mitzvah, so now I don't have a requirement to turn to the other mitzvah. But if it's not fully it's not going to infringe on the mitzvah I'm doing, I'm licensed to. Am I obligated to? I'm not obligated to.
Is there any qualification of when the mitzvah was started, when the tzarchei tzibur was started? If it started after migration, not after it's over, but once.
Yeah. So that's the Mishna Berura said that it's talking about you started beheter, and perhaps the Mishna Berura of Katan Yud Zayin said it's mashma that if you started be'isser, then you would have to stop because you weren't allowed to get involved in that mitzvah to begin with. Pri Megadim says no, even so you don't have to. It's a machlekes. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.